If you're approaching it like the internet, you will fail.
For sure.
Or if you approach it like a SaaS tool, you will fail. You are bringing the wrong, to me, sports equipment to the game completely. So, you're showing up to a hockey game with, badmintons, like shoes and a little racket. Like, you are completely misindexed for what is happening.
Welcome back to Qore Conversations, the podcast where we cut through the AI hype. We talk about all the AI hype too, but we also talk about the stuff that really matters to franchise car dealers. I'm lucky to be your host, Sean Rains, and as always, I'm joined by the QoreAI founder, Todd Smith, Mr. AI, Automotive AI himself. Todd, you recently dropped a bomb on LinkedIn about a massive invisible liability that's sitting in almost every dealership showroom right now. So let's talk about the manager, a personal ChatGPT account, and why dealers should be sweating bullets on a Tuesday afternoon. You ready?
Absolutely. So look, it's funny that I was with an attorney and we were talking about discoverability during, when lawsuits are filed, the plaintiff or the defendant, you can go through discovery process. So I can subpoena things like your email and your browsing history. And I don't think it's very long that they'll also, subpoena what you put in ChatGPT, what the output was. And because it doesn't fall under attorney-client privilege. So it's discoverable information. And it kind of led me down a rabbit hole because how much data inside dealerships is just being thrown into these systems. Like a dealership gets a demand letter from a customer. They put it in, ChatGPT and say, hey, how do we write back an email to this person? You're giving attorneys a playbook of how you were thinking. And I think that's probably going to be a problem. Now, is it a problem today? Most likely for 99.9% of dealers, no. But I believe it is as soon as plaintiff attorneys figure out that dealers are uploading all kinds of stuff into these services, like how do I legally fight this? How do I do this? All that thinking and logic will be extracted and used against them. And that's not where you want to land, I don't believe. I don't think anyone opens ChatGPT or Claude looking for additional liability. And I think what I wanted to point out was you are creating it by putting it in these public tools. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this podcast, you make it actually very easy for me to surface topics like this because of just how good you are at actually putting content out that is absolutely focused on the audience that you're trying to teach, that you're trying to bring insights to, that you're trying to raise up their level of awareness about things. And this one resonated with me. And this is a very recent post about what we're talking about today. But I remembered how flabbergasted is the word, I guess, that I would use, that I personally was the first time, and this is many years ago as a much younger guy, of finding out that if you got into some legal trouble, that emails you could subpoena them. And then as we've moved along, even not just with emails, but there's a lot of chat and messenger services that can be subpoenaed. And, people that love their Microsoft Teams environment. All that stuff that you don't think is being tracked by your company and held within your team's conversations and chats. And so now what you're putting on the table around AI, I don't know that it's been done yet, but I think you're absolutely right. It's just a matter of time before we start reading about some, automotive case where this became a nightmare. And, you've been in the industry for a long time, like 3+ decades, like you've been in it over 30 years on both sides of it. And you've seen the interest rates, you've seen financial crises, you've seen the cyber attacks. When you think about this in terms of this AI data issue, why do you think, how does it bother you and kind of give you a restless night, but also for a dealer? Like, what's the kind of thinking you'd want them to be, kind of preparing themselves for?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good question. Technology is very new, and I equate like what we're going through now with all these LLMs and AI. It's like 1997, right? I think about 1997, man. We put back like we had Excite, Ask Jeeves,
Yeah.
Yahoo Directory. There was no Google.
Yeah.
Like we haven't even
GeoCities.
seen what's really probably going to happen emerge yet. The companies
Hmm.
probably truly don't exist yet. What we're going to see, but I think when anytime we go through these transitions where we're inserting new over old, that's a friction point, and we have to learn new rules, new processes, new paradigms of thinking, and we have to kind of reset ourselves when we go through these like crazy changes, right? Like think about it. You're running normal COVID hits, right? You literally are cardio, you have to change everything. And they had to do it within hours or day.
Yeah.
And I think with AI, it's going to affect us like that. So I feel like we have to be prepared. And what I've tried to do with content on LinkedIn is I hate to say, take my constant stream of thinking and turn it into usable content. But that is kind of how I think about it because, as you said, I sat in that scene. So I'm always putting my dealer hat on and going, okay, if I was sitting in there and I see all the time, people are using these tools. And I'm like, they're great tools. I'm excited to see people use them. But with that excitement and great power comes great responsibility. And we need to also be responsible because look, it's not when I look at lawyers and they discover emails, as you know, yeah, you see the back and forth, but you don't see the whole reasoning layer. You
Hmm.
don't see me collaborating. Like when you collaborate with the AI, you get so much deeper and more compelling content than I think we would see from an email. And that stuck with me. And I said, wow, man, it would almost be like lawyers could look into your entire thinking and how you positioned yourself and how you're trying to skate around something. And a smart lawyer will use that and use it against you because they would literally understand your framing, your thinking, what really bothered you. All of that would come right out inside a dialogue with an LLM because think about it, you're talking to it like you were talk to the lawyer. Hey,
Hmm.
I don't want to pay this son of a bitch $1
Right.
because blah 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 and this
Yeah.
this and this and I someone did this before and this is what I did. Like, think of that exposure. Um, to me, then I was like, oh my gosh, it's all discoverable data. So I think we have to be very cautious, one. And then two, do you really want this happening on your individual people's accounts where you have zero control? Think of like cell phones. Cell phones to me were the same. You're an employee. I can't go to you and say, show me your text messages, Sean. Did you save your customer's phone number? I can't do that. I don't pay for that phone. It's not a business device. I could ask you nicely, but you're under no obligation to give that to me. So, one, we don't want leakage of PII to the dealership to leak out through these services. One and two, I think we have to again put it in a new paradigm, create a new framing to how we're going to use these applications in our day to day life.
Yeah. I want to have you dig in even a little bit more on that, like the anatomy of what the mistake that we're talking about. Because you have spent so much time on both sides of automotive in the service provision side, but also in the seat of operating, owning a dealership, um, and not just a used car dealership. Like we're talking legit, like just for the audience to know.
Hey, listen, I'd be happy to be a used car dealer. Like,
I
doesn't
know, I
matter.
know, I know. Not that there's
Yeah,
anything wrong with that. I'm
there's
just
nothing wrong with
saying,
it.
like,
Yep, being a
but
dealer is a privilege for sure.
that's right. And it's a mountain of effort,
Oh yeah.
especially when times get tough. But maybe set up exactly, or like think of a sales manager, a BDC agent, what are they doing? You mentioned on their phone or maybe on their desktop that triggers these types of liabilities.
Well, let's look at a couple different examples. Customer submits an email, but is very like super detailed, right? It's like a 4-page email. And humans, listen, we tend to be a little lazy. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to copy it, paste it into ChatGPT and say, write my response. So, but now I just uploaded that customer's name. Maybe when I copied and pasted, it took their email address. Maybe they describe this is my current VIN that I want an appraisal done on. Um, who knows what kind of PII could have leaked? And listen, maybe you've had those instances. Listen, I remember email. People would be like, "This is my social security number, my birthday. Run my credit and tell me what I can buy."
Yep.
Like
Yep.
sometimes, look, and that could be consumer fault, right? Consumers gave up that in a very unsecured environment. People don't realize that. I think people have become a little bit more educated in that. And look, that's the whole point. I think we have to be cautious and educated and continue to educate our team, have a really good AI policy. And so if you're listening right now to my voice and you do not have a comprehensive AI use policy in place in your business, whether you're a new car dealership, used car dealership, multi dealership, doesn't matter. You already have a problem to me. Now, that's only step one. Then that has to be dispersed organizationally and trained on. That's a whole different side of it. But step one, you need to have that policy in place. So we have a free one on our website under resources. You can download the template, call your lawyer. We are not a lawyer. We do not play lawyer, but we built the framework structure of an AI template, AI policy template. You want to customize it for your state and any local kind of rules and regs that you might have, or also just how your dealership operates. But I got you 80% of the way there. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think it's really important, and you pointed this out, and your post made me think about this as well. Thought it would be a good conversation to dig in a little bit more on. But one of the things that really stood out to me is how kind of different to that area around attorney-client privilege gets a little muddy and weird, and discoverability, and
oh,
a big reason for that is because of how it's a personal AI account that ends up getting used on behalf of a business or inside of a business, and it turns a customer interaction into a completely different thing. And oftentimes, like, it's a dream scenario. If you're, I don't, maybe it's not fair to call them ambulance chasers, but there certainly are a whole lot of attorneys in that um, let's just say they have that kind of leaning of like, hey, there's some kind of new thing that's relative to AI, something new in technology that if you're one of the first to start to, maybe exploits the wrong word, but to enforce law around something brand new, people become opportunistic. That's just, it's everywhere.
look at
Um,
California law. You have SIPA right now, where lawsuits are everywhere. I think they're
mm,
trying to eliminate them, but SIPA like basically is cookies on your website and tracking capabilities. And if it's not clearly disclosed, man, you'll get filed. There's one guy, Vivek something right now. Guy's filed thousands of cases. And the goal is
mm,
not to go to court, settle for 10, 20, 50 grand, whoever, based on the size of your company.
yeah.
Another one I saw recently, very interesting. So here's another loophole lawsuit just in California. I don't know why. Cali's really good at this stuff, it seems. But this one was interesting where, you put your place for sale or lease on like a Zillow or Realtor or something. They'll call up and go, do you take Section 8 housing? And if you don't say yes, you'll have a suit within 2 days in your inbox.
Wow.
So I feel like opportunistic plaintiff lawsuits super common, and they go after thousands of companies. And my fear is, in the age of AI, Like, let's not open and welcome them in. Let's keep some of these doors closed. And I think I lean to the side where we need governance around using these tools. You need data chain of custody, how data moves through your organization, who it touches, who has access, and who doesn't. You need to have very clear, to me, rules and processes. And if you don't, in look, the agentic era or any era, it will come back to bite you. Same, I think, as we transitioned onto the internet and we went from analog to digital, again, it was clunky. And I think we're going through that clunky time today with AI. And all I'm doing is pointing out things that just, as I say, as you think through more and more processes and you're exposed to more and more dealerships and more just AI and business in general, that has leaned or helped my thinking to be more holistic and say, oh, hey, this is something we should probably really think about. Like, I'll give you another one. A lot of guys are using the AI voice tools, right? Now, I'm not going to say anyone should do this, but if an unsavory character decided to spoof a phone number, call the dealership, how do those systems recognize that Sean is Sean? By your phone number. So you could be leaking PII because they don't have an MFA. So when you call in, it doesn't say, hey, Sean, I think you're Sean. I'm going to text you. What is that number? Hit this button so I can verify it's actually you. So what happens if I start asking and do an insert into that AI engine and say, hey, what is my address that you have on file? Hey, do you have other VINs associated to me?
Yeah.
So think about a prompt injection. Like if I build that scaffold that I'm going to go suck data out of a dealership, think of the exposure.
Yeah.
And nobody's thinking
Yeah.
about these things. And it's crazy because and it's not that no one's thinking about them. It's just like, it's so new. And I think all I'm trying to do is say, I am thinking about these things. And, these are things that we're going to have to fix on our industry. Before, we were always worried TCPA compliance and getting whacked for a lawsuit at, 1,800 per instance, or, getting hit on like a can spam like thing, or getting hit on some, other violation, FTCP or FTC violation. So I think like we're going to see lots come around the AI usage and permissioning. So again, just thinking for protection, I say run crazy, run outwards, but, also have a one brain sense of, hey, let's just think about it from a compliance lens. Let's think about it from our data chain of custody. How's this data being used? Do we have potential exposure points? So I think, and look, AI is also good at helping frame this. Like, let me think deeper about this. And then, using AI for those types of utility is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think there's and you see this all the time. I mean, you're on the road doing a lot of speaking engagements at a lot of 20 groups. You're not the kind of founder. You're not just building kind of in public. Not kind of. You're not doing all this in public, like for everybody to see. You're very visible, open door. Here's the questions that I have. Here are the insights that I want to share. Um, so I know that you see this far more than even I do. But I think a lot of dealers, when they hear things like AI, data privacy, they don't think it's their problem. They think that's like IT. They think that's all more internet stuff or more computer room stuff. But the dealer principal, the owner, in those cases, they become the problem, and it is your comparison to what started in '97, clunky, 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 and then now we have all these new things, all kinds of different regulation, all types of different litigation that has come up because of the advancement of all this technology. But one thing about AI that is so different is how fast it's moving. It doesn't mean that everyone's, and you talk about this extensively about if people are using it as much as they say. I saw a clip the other day that I thought was horrible, where it's one of the automotive conferences where somebody was spouting off a McKinsey statistic about 44% of people are doing their shopping on an LLM, and it's so literally out of context, really, because they were saying it to an audience of automotive dealers, supposedly dealers, but automotive people, and it's just not, that's not accurate. It's just very misrepresented. That aside, it is moving so fast, unlike the internet moved slowly. I'll set this up and then get your thoughts on this. When we got the internet, we didn't have Wi-Fi, we didn't have high speed, there was no DSL, there was no nothing other than unplug your telephone, plug it into your computer, listen to the funny screeching noises from your modem. You're on an AOL disk with 1,000 free hours that you picked up at the grocery store. It was in your mailbox or whatever. Any of us old people have that because we grew up with the internet literally when it became commercially available. But you couldn't upload a picture fast to your website. You couldn't build a website fast. You couldn't do any of the things. There was no WordPress. And so all the younger generations that came into it in the last 10, 20 years, they don't have that historical reference, but a lot of people need it. But also the generation that was averse to all this technology. I don't want to be a computer person. I just want to sell and service cars. That generation, which includes some people our age that were resistant, they are now so vulnerable, not just with all of the things that happened because of the internet age, meaning commercial internet, then social media, but now the AI piece. And that's the kind of stuff that you talk about. That's why we're talking about this topic right now, because it's not a slow burn. It's literally a prairie fire coming for your ranch. And you need to know these things and think about these things. And so one of the things that I want to kind of lead you into, and if you've got some thoughts on my little monologue there, sorry. The next thing I want to ask you about is let's talk about some of the potential fixes that people could immediately, we need to put some water on these flames. And so when you're ready, I want you to kind of start with maybe the first of something that you've talked about actually a little bit a few minutes ago. It's like a usage policy or some type of AI policy.
Yeah, you need an AI policy.
Yeah.
Job one.
Talk about that. What are the non-negotiables? What should they be documenting today?
Yeah. So look, an AI policy is broken down. How is your organization going to use and leverage AI on a day-to-day basis? Who's going to have access? What information can and can't be put into the system? How are you going to integrate it into the organization? So I look at AI as going to be a pervasive tooling inside, right? It's not it's not like an over there. When the internet kind of came out, you remember, you're like, oh, you're the internet manager. We're going to keep doing business our way. And you're going to create a parallel path that is going to deal with those internet customers that are bothersome and no profit, right? This was the reality. And I laugh, but that really didn't happen that way. But then everyone became an internet customer. Like today, I remember a couple of years ago, I was looking at Volkswagen. It was like 98% of their shoppers use the internet. And it was astounding to me because it was the first one that I was like, oh my God, virtually everybody who's buying a Volkswagen shops on the internet. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. And I look at it today, think about that as a super accelerant where it took years for that to happen. We're now in months. So ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months. I think they have somewhere in the range of almost 1 billion users out of 8 billion or some ridiculous number globally today. You have nothing to compare it to for fastest growing technology in the course of history, not just in history. We've had nothing that has grown at this, as you put it, like a prairie fire. I'll give you that. That has to be a Texas thing. So I'll give you that prairie fire.
You can use that in many contexts too. If you like to, start a prairie fire, making everybody agitated and burn them into, you can do that too.
Yeah,
but
I love it. So look,
context.
as a prairie fire concept, you have something that is not coming at us in a linear process, meaning, it's like, oh, it's just creeping to us step by step, day by step. It's making compounding jumps. So think of fire and high wind. So now we'll transfer you to like a California wildfire going through one of the canyons where it's just jumping.
Yep.
And think about it just from the what I would consider the frontier models. Frontier models were on like a 18-month, you'd see a new model drop to 12, 7, 4 months now. And it's going to drop and it's going to continue to cascade down where I believe we're going to see new models being shipped like weekly, daily, hourly. And there's nothing in our lives that changes like that. And I think for automotive, like every industry, we are going to have to face some really tough new realities. Whether we want to use the technology or not isn't the conversation anymore. It's how are we going to ensure we don't get run over by our competitors that are using this technology? And think about it. You and I could sit down with, let's just say, ChatGPT or Claude, and we could go up against a room full of other people that don't have that access, and we could out pivot them. We could outperform. We could produce more faster. I think you did a hackathon or whatever that I remember you told me about, where in only an hour, teams built whole websites or infrastructure where this would have took 4 to 6 months of planning, and then a whole development cycle or 3 development cycles that are 3 to 8 months. So think about a year's work collapsed into an hour of time.
Yep.
That's crazy compounding. We're going to see more and more of that where, hey, I need to spend a few days doing, let's say, my dealership next year planning cycle. Dealers spend weeks doing this. Groups spend months doing this. How are we going to budget? How AI will chew through that in hours. It'll be minutes where I can get a real-time system that will then dynamically adjust based on what it's seeing in real outputs. We've had nothing like this. Yeah. So this is where I really lean in for dealers. Look at this. You're hiring a new employee. It's a brain. You're going to give it everything. It's going to help you. You're going to collaborate with you. And it's going to break through your thinking. It's going to break through new capabilities of what you're going to do organizationally. Maybe you've been a dealer that's been like, man, we can't get past 150 cars a month. Train the AI brain. The AI brain might start giving new ideas. Hey, you have a pocket of underserved customers. This type of profile, J35, median income. This is the type. Buy more of these cars because with inside your local area, there's 50,000 of these people available, and you're underserving that.
Yeah.
I think AI will absolutely help us discover these things where we just couldn't do it. We didn't have enough time, bandwidth, and just ultimate like access to all the data in one place that it could find the patterns, find all the insights, and then bubble it right up. That's why I say I laugh. I was like, "Who's your biggest competitor?" I was like, "Honestly, it's one person or two people in a room right now running Claude and Claude code. They are going to eat you because you and I, we could spend the next 2 hours, invite everyone into a live LinkedIn. We could build a CRM that everyone could deploy and use every single day.
Yep.
That's never happened." That we could do things like that. And you don't even need to code. If you know how to code it, it's way better because now I can fix problems that are kind of endless loops and all those things that, the AI can get stuck. But look, in the end, I really think we're just in this new time, which is requiring new thinking. Again, always what I'm trying to bring into LinkedIn is like, think differently. Break your patterns of how you're approaching this. And if you're approaching it like the internet, you will fail. Or if you approach it like a SaaS tool, you will fail. You are bringing the wrong, to me, sports equipment to the game completely. So, you're showing up to a hockey game with, badmintons, like shoes and a little racket. Like you are completely misindexed for what is happening. And look, forget auto, read. understand how other industries are already trying to leverage this. And look, failures are everywhere, but that's a good sign. That to me is means people are pushing the boundaries. That whole idea, like everyone, I wrote about Starbucks. Starbucks wanted to do inventory with AI. So they have it like an iPad, and the iPad was going down the shelf and it's literally seeing, oh, there's 4 soy milks, 3 almond milks, 1 oat milk, but it missed something. So, they learned from that. They had to say, hey, maybe we got ahead of our skis a little, but they learned. And I'm sure that will get rebooted somewhere down the line to speed up their business. So, everything I think about today in a dealer lens, use data to speed up your point of decision making. Case in point, if you go into your weekly meeting and you go back and forth and you spend an hour or two there, and then it's very slow moving that next week to get people to execute. I mean, think about it. If I could collapse all that and say, here's your execution strategy right now. Or, hey, analyze all this data. I see these technicians are falling behind average. You need to go talk to them because I see 30 days from now, they will be at this point and it's going to affect your profitability. I think AI is going to help us see around curves. I think it's going to help us predict far more than our 30-day thinking in our industry, that we'll be able to real time engage with the AI. And we're already seeing glimmers of this where the AI will absolutely say, hey, Sean, you need to put more money into these particular VINs because these VINs will not get enough views to sell with inside your 60-day time window before you normally wholesale things.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're like, it's day 4. How the hell does it know that? Because it's seen so many patterns now on a Honda Civic that it knows it takes 32 VDP views to sell in your area. It will know. And this is where we've never had tools like this. So that's why I say there's nothing to compare it to. It's not a SaaS tool. It's not, it's like nothing we've had. And I look at it more of like I just hired a super smart person that I'm going to work and collaborate with every single day, that we're going to get smarter together to grow the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much of what you just shared. There's a bunch of great stuff in there.
Sorry, I know it was a little rabbit hole.
No, no, no.
I went on a prairie fire, Sean. I went on total prairie fire.
Yeah, it's a good
Or
prairie
I'm
fire.
burning up
It's
the
like
valley now.
burning out of control.
Burning
But you
out
said
of
a couple
control.
things that I want to comment on. One, it was coincidental that you used the example of like you and I could spend a few hours and build a functioning CRM platform in AI right now. That's the world we're in right now.
Yep.
And coincidental because last week, one of the OEMs, I'll just say that, had reached out to me. The guy that I was talking to, he's also personally using AI and he's starting to build a lot of stuff. And he kind of like things that you and I have talked about, where it's, your first little bit of coding might have just been some basic JavaScript, like the calculators that I started with in the ChatGPT environment. And then you start playing with Bolt and Lovable and now Claude and all the, well, he literally spent a weekend and built a CRM. And he was like, I wasn't originally starting to do that. And then I just realized this is a full CRM. And it was all based, and he's been in the industry for a long time too.
Yeah.
And you could tell he's even surprised himself. And he's like, this is just, it's just hard to explain that world. Second thing I want to say, because you inspired me to think about this. I have always had kind of a soft heart for dealers in this digital age of technology explosion, because it's faster than anything else and everything keeps getting faster. The internet, although for you and I are like, yeah, not fast. I mean, we're decades in and it's like it took a long time for all of these different things to develop. But AI is totally different. But it's exactly the same in that it brings in a new layer where dealer principals and general managers and really almost everybody that works in retail automotive needs a reliable circle of trust, because all of these advancements in technology bring new service providers and vendors into the market who prey on dealers who do not know how to evaluate whether they're talking about nonsense or they're actually talking about something that is critically important for them to understand. And when
Right.
you have nothing but this layer, I've called it for years, like technology lasagna, where like you've got all the layers of, meat, cheese, pasta, meat, cheese, pasta, meat, cheese, pasta. So many dealers still today have overlapping technologies that they do not need, but they've made decisions to have a whole stack of stuff, some that doubles and triples things that one of their tools already could use. But it's because they're getting wrong information, or the service department gets to actually buy some stuff. We need this one. We're not using this one. Or,
Right.
variable ops wants these tools.
Right.
AI has made that now, I think, even more consequential for dealers and difficult for them to figure out who's the circle of trust, who's going to tell me the truth, because it kind of goes back to something we said here towards the top of the episode. It's not just attorneys who get opportunistic.
Right.
Right? It's just about everybody gets opportunistic. And I'm not also saying that being opportunistic is all inherently bad. If you're a good person and you have ethics and hey, it's an opportunist market, then do what you do, because doing what you do might be very ethical, might be very instructive and helpful, and the market's great. So great. If there's a lot of fish in the barrel, shoot them. But that also means that at the same time, you have all of these wolves, you have all these nefarious people. And I just feel for dealers, because this is very much going on right now. Everybody that I just want to slap them out there talking about AI, whether they're on LinkedIn or Facebook or everywhere else in between,
Everyone's
everybody
an AI
deciding
expert, John. I just
everybody's an AI expert now.
right.
And so for the dealers that tune into this and hopefully, see some of the clips from this, I hope you know that there is a difference. And if you don't know there's a difference, I think the first person you should call is Todd Smith. And yes, he has an AI company, but he's been on both sides of this. And he'll literally, whether you like it or not, Todd's going to tell you the truth straight up. If you don't think he will, call me, ask me. I have no skin in the game. I don't have an AI company. But I talk to a lot of people and I am deeply involved with AI myself. I just want dealers to know that there are people like you that while you're in it and you have a service, a product to sell, that you are literally one of the first people that I heard doing this, where you're speaking a lot to improving the literacy in the retail realm, so that people understand what's coming for them, what's already starting to eat their lunch.
Right.
And I want you to speak a little bit about the next thing. Just a couple more questions and we can wrap it. But dealers should be thinking about the difference between having a corporate AI account and personal ones. And I think there's a whole lot of dealers that would be like, what's the difference between having like a corporate account versus a personal account? And so what are your thoughts there? What would they need to know about that?
Yeah. So let me answer that one first, and then I'm going to get back to the other side of your conversation. So I think dealers absolutely should have a corporate account that their employees are using if they're going to use AI. I find Claude seems to be the best for us, like so far in experience. ChatGPT is great, but I think ChatGPT is leaning more into consumer stuff. Copilot, Gemini, I just don't think are keeping pace at this point. Now, will they catch up at some point in the future? Maybe, but I kind of want to go where the most value is today. So that to me is there. I think for every dealer, look, it is a learning process. You have to roll up your sleeves. You're not going to just delegate this. You want to use it yourself, because by using it yourself, you also then have the experience to learn what questions to ask. So I think there's that. It's funny, like in the last couple meetings I've done, the questions I'm getting asked, I know that controller just generated that from ChatGPT or Claude. I can tell. I just did one of a groups in their deal before they sign. Is like they sent us like a questionnaire of like 80 questions. I was like completely generated by ChatGPT. I can tell, and that's okay. But and I feel like okay, they're using it. I was like, do they even understand these answers or what these answers mean? Especially when they're very technical. And I think this is again, trying to leverage this technology in a useful way. Um, but I think for many dealers today, it should just be roll up your sleeves, play with it, empower your team to play with it under your account. Have a meeting once a week that says, okay, who used AI? How did you use it? Where can we use it? So I think that again, different habits have to be developed there. And let me kind of push back into the other side of this where you began, how to know what to trust in this world. And I think first, good for us over the last 26 years, we have spawned SaaS tools like Gremlins and Water. Like we went nuts. And we have one use widgets to fix really siloed use cases across a multitude of processes within the dealership. And it's very costly for low to me grade output. I think because of the age we're in, this agentic age, we're now going to see a collapse of this technology. So think of like, as a star expands and then a star comes back into a much more dense thing before it completely explodes and kills us all. But we won't get to that far into the conversation. But I think we're going to see it come back. You're going to go from 20 tools, 30 logins to 3 or 5. That's good. Now, how do you know what 3 or 5? Well, in the end, I base everything on first principles. I want to go all the way back to fundamentals. Fundamentals will always be data. Data is the fuel that powers all of this. So for every dealer listening, you got to get your arms around all your data. Get it out of all your disparate systems into something you own. Doesn't need to be with us. Needs to be something that you own and control. That to me is more important than your building. It's more important than your inventory. It's more important than your people, your data. And we can look across the globe to understand that is a proven fact. Next is your workflows. Many of your workflows, they're stuck in some 3-ring binder that has dust on it and coffee stains, and no one in your dealership operates them. They all operate by people. And I can prove this, that you are people powered, not process powered. That's going to be a problem in this AI world. We're going to have friction there because you hire people. You hire a really good used car manager. He crushes it, doing great. He gets fired. Whatever happens, he's a drunk. He got divorced. He decided to move. He took a better job. Whatever it is, all of a sudden your sales plummet again. It's because it was the person holding it all together, not the system. So in the age of AI, we're going to need very clear systems that we can plug the AI in that is consistent, it learns. The system is the solution. We're going to need to get to that. And I think for dealerships today, looking at AI technology, I would first go all the way back. Okay, how is this going to interact with my data? How, am I going to use this tool and it's going to write back to my data? So all the derivative data that is created, I'm getting value from, or is that vendor getting value from? And then the other side of this, so think about the workflows and process. If you're trying to bolt AI onto your existing process, you're already failing. And what I mean by that is think of it like, did you ever see the first television show ever recorded on YouTube? Oh, definitely Google it when we're done, or YouTube. Same, I guess, at this point. It's like a radio show that they have a camera, and it's so awkward because they didn't understand the medium of television yet. So they're applying a new medium onto an old paradigm. And here, this one will hit a little closer to home. Think about the first car. What was it? It was carriage. They jammed a 2-stroke engine on the back and called it a car, right? Motorized carriage.
Yeah.
So a lot of AI we're seeing right now is trying to be bolted onto the old stuff. This isn't the AI that's going to accelerate us, compound our business, get us to the point of high profitability of 8, 9, 12% versus 2.5%. That's coming. but it's going to be built off a completely new infrastructure. And that's going to require a lot of different thinking. So when I look at the tech today in our space, many of it is just a bolt on onto the legacy tech. This isn't the real tech that's going to transform our industry, though. Just as I said, we're in the Excite, we're in the Ask Jeeves era, we're in the spend $200 and get in the Yahoo directory era. We have not seen the Google completely redesigned infrastructure yet, but we should be building that. As a dealer, your thinking should be aligned with that.
Yeah. This is a perfect segue for me to ask the last question, and you don't have to you give as long or shorter answer you want, but let's just contextualize for the dealers who are watching this episode, listening to this episode right now, and now they suspect that their team is already kind of doing some of these things that we've been talking about, rogue AI tools, personal accounts. What's the very first conversation they need to have when they walk into the store tomorrow?
Yeah, all your guys together. Who's using ChatGPT or Claude or using AI tool? How are you using it? Where are you accessing it from? Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
That's where you
perfect.
start. And then from that, you dig deeper into the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And go back through this episode and don't forget to reach out to Todd. We'll wrap up the episode today. Another great one with Todd. Don't forget, this is Qore Conversations. If you're not already liking and subscribing, do that wherever you're seeing this, especially if it's on YouTube, because then you'll get notifications and you'll know what's up. If you're a dealer principal, if you're a general manager, if you're in management in retail, don't wait until you get some discoverable subpoena to fix this. It's coming. It's here. We're living in the fastest growing technology revolution of our lifetimes, and some of it's amazing and it's awesome and it's fun and it's exhilarating. But there's also a lot of potential negative consequences to remaining ignorant and things in ways that you can actually improve yourself. Go to QoreAI.com. Yes, it is spelled uniquely. That's QoreAI.com. Grab I think, don't you have a free AI policy template there, Todd?
Yes. So if you go QoreAI, hit resources, and then there's like free templates. There is not only an AI policy template, there is, which I also believe you should be thinking, having the AI champion inside your store. And look, they're probably already, he or she already works there. It's the person who hated looking at your terrible report, so they built a better one. It's someone who said, I hate your process, so I built this better version. The builder lives among us. Find that builder. So there's a job application, like for an ad in there already. You can steal it, take what you want, as well as the questions on interview you should ask a builder. It's all there. It's free. You don't even need to give us your email address. Just you can go download it. It's in PDF or a Word doc, so you can go edit it, do your own thing. Again, I want to give value to just help you do what you're already trying to do, which is sell and service more cars, but do it in the most efficient way possible. And I think that requires new and different thinking. And I think it's okay to learn and fail and not know everything in this day and age, and have fun with it.
Yeah. And part of this journey for all you dealers out there is you do have to find some of those trustworthy places where you can get information. So get this free information. For many of you, you're probably thinking, I don't even know where to start. AI policy template probably feels like you need a new privacy policy because you've got an internet website, blah 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 blah. So take Todd's advice, go over there and get that stuff for free. Share it with your attorney, protect your store. There's just so much you can do there while you're at QoreAI, by the way. And I will tell you that you should go back and watch all of the episodes if you haven't, these conversations with Todd. But even I think it was last episodes where he walked through Blueprint. That'll give you even a deeper understanding of what they bring to the table and how they help. They're truly like a juggernaut of capability for dealers in the AI area. So As always, I'm your humble host, Sean Rains, always with my buddy and chief AI automotive dude, Todd Smith. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.